Hello everyone, welcome back to our ethics series for UPSC. In today's class, we are going to understand something very interesting and practical. That is the difference between a leader, an administrator, and the reformer, and how human values connect all of them. We will also see how these values are learned from family, society, and education, and how they guide ethical behaviors across the world. So, let's begin with a simple story. That is, imagine a cricket team. The administrator is like the team manager. He plans the schedule, arranges the jersey, and manages all the logistics. But the leader is the captain on the field. He inspires the team, builds the strategy, and keeps everyone motivated to win. Administrators are appointed by rules, while leaders emerge naturally because people trust them. You can remember this simple line. That is, an administrator does things right, but a leader does the right thing. So, administration is about structure and discipline, while leadership is about vision and courage. But both are important, but leadership gives direction to administration. Now, let's talk about reformers, the people who challenge society when it goes wrong. Reformers are those who don't accept things as they are, but work hard to make them better. Reformers fight social evils like Rajaram Mohan Roy, who fought against Sati, or Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who worked for Dalit rights. Political reformers stand up against injustice like Jayaprakash Narayan, who raised his voice during the emergency. And also religious reformers purify religion like Kabir and Guru Nanak, who opposed meaningless rituals and promoted love and equality. You can think of reformers as the doctors of society. They diagnose the disease and bring the healthy change. At first, these three leaders, administrators, and reformers might seem very different, but deep down they share the same core human values. Whether it's Gandhi, Ambedkar, or Verghese Kurien, all of them believed in service before self, integrity, impartiality, and compassion. Their roles were different, but their hearts were the same to serve humanity and uplift the weak. And that's why we still remember them, and not for their titles, but for their values. Now, great leaders are remembered not for how much power they had, but for what values they stood for. Let's take some examples. The first one is Mahatma Gandhi taught us truth and nonviolence, and also Abraham Lincoln stood for justice and equality. And Nelson Mandela shows forgiveness after years in prison, and also Mother Teresa lived compassion every single day. These leaders proved that real power lies not in command but in character. A true leader doesn't just need people, they light the path of values for others to follow. Now, administrations may not always be in the spotlight, but their values shape the nation silently. Look at these examples. Verghese Kurien, known as the Milk Man of India, led the White Revolution, showing vision and honesty. And M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Green Revolution, showed innovations and dedication. And also E. Sridharan, the Metro Man of India, became symbol of discipline and integrity. Their success wasn't magic, it was their values in action. So administration is not only about following rules, it's about doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Now, let's look at what we can learn from reformers. That is, from Kabir, questioned blind rituals and preached humanity. And also Guru Nanak promoted equality and simplicity. Also Rajaram Mohan Roy fought for women's dignity and widow remarriages. And also Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar worked for education and social upliftment. And finally, Swami Vivekananda taught us courage, service, and spiritual nationalism. Reformers remind us that values are not for comfort, they are for change. Leaders guide, administrators execute, but reformers transform society. Now, let's talk about how we learn these values. The first teacher in our life is our family. Family is like the first school of ethics where we learn honesty, respect, and kindness. If a family values truth, the child grows up with courage and clarity. Take the example of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. His father was simple boatman, but the values of humanity and honesty he learned at home made him the people's president. So yes, values start in the living room, not just in the classroom. But family alone can't do everything. Society also shapes our values. If corruption becomes normal in society, administrators may slowly start accepting it too. That's why civil sense, patriotism, and respect for rules are so important. Remember the 2011 Japan tsunami. Even after such tragedy, people stood patiently in queues for food, no fighting, no looting. That's the strength of value-driven society. When citizens live by ethics, administrators automatically follow the same moral compass. The next pillar of values is education. The education is not just about scoring marks, it's about building good human beings. The true goals of education are personality development, character building, promoting justice, democracy, and scientific temper. When students read about Vivekananda, it's not just history, it's about learning courage and service. So, schools are not factories of degrees, they are nurseries of values. The future of a nation depends on what kind of values its classrooms produce. Finally, let's look at ethics on global level. What's right in one culture might not be right in another, and that's okay. For example, low wages may be seen as exploitation in the West, but they help poor countries create jobs. Using chemical fertilizers may harm the environment, but sometimes it saves life from hunger. So ethics are not always absolute. They depend on context and culture. And also in Japan, loyalty and disciplines are valued. And also in US, fairness and individual rights are important. And also in India, we believe in duty towards family and community. Understanding this diversity helps us act with tolerance and global understanding. As I told in earlier, what's ethical in one country may be unethical in another. For example, in some Middle Eastern countries like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, having harems or multiple wives still exist as part of the tradition. But if the same happens in India or the United States, it's seen as immoral and even illegal. For another example, in rich countries, paying low wages is considered exploitation, but in poor countries, those same wages may help people find jobs and escape poverty. Even governments face such dilemmas. Think about agriculture. Using more fertilizers can pollute rivers, yes, but it can also save millions from hunger. So the message is simple. Ethics are not one size fits all. Context here matters. So what's right or wrong often depends on the situation, culture, and people involved. Now, there is one school of thought called absolutism, and absolutists believe there is only one truth and one correct way to behave everywhere, no matter the culture. It's like saying that there is one global rule book for ethics and everyone must follow it. But here's the problem. Life isn't that. Different societies have different histories and beliefs and traditions. What considered respectful in Japan might look strange in America. What's normal in India might look odd in Europe. So when absolutism tries to apply one single rule to the whole world, it often clashes with the reality. The world is too diverse for one size fits all morality. Let's understand this with a few examples. In Japan, ethics means royalty. People are loyal to their company, their team, and even their nation. Leaving a job suddenly is seen as a betrayal. In United States, ethics revolves around freedom and fairness. Americans value individual rights and personal choice above everything. In India, traditionally, work has been seen not as a personal pursuit but as a duty. It is something we do for family, community, and society. So, whose ethics is correct? Japan's loyalty, or America's freedom, or India's duty? The truth is, all are right in their own context. That's the beauty of cultural ethics, different and at equality meaningful. The idea of human rights that we talk about today mostly came from Western societies, from the rise of democracy in Europe and America. But did you know that the world-like rights don't even exist in Confucian or Buddhist tradition? Those cultures focus more on duties and harmony rather than individual rights. So when the United Nations drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they had to balance ideas from all these traditions, that is East and West, modern and ancient. The philosopher Michael Walzer said it beautifully. That is, there is no Esperanto of global ethics. That is, just like languages are different across the world, there is no single moral language that everyone speaks. We all share the same values, that is kindness, respect, truth, but express them differently. So the big question here is, how do we balance all this? On one hand, relativism says everything is fine, nothing is absolutely right or wrong. On the other, absolutism says only one code fits all. Both are extremes. The middle path is what works best. We should always respect core human values like honesty and compassion. But at the same time, we must respect local traditions and cultural context. For example, the way we show respect in India by touching feet or saying namaste is different from how it's done in other countries. But the feeling behind it is the same, right? So the balance is follow universal values but express them in ways that fit your society. Now, respecting cultural differences doesn't mean we should accept everything blindly. Take India's secularism, for example. It means respecting all religions, not promoting anyone. But if your practice harms people, it cannot be justified as culture. Look at the Bhopal gas tragedy. The company Union Carbide ignored safety rules and local infrastructure. That is, thousands have died. That wasn't a cultural difference. It was a moral failure. So yes, we must respect diversity, but never at the cost of basic human values. Ethics should protect life and dignity always. Now, ethics isn't always black or white. It's gray depending on the situation. For instance, a chemical called EDB was banned in US because it's harmful in cold climates. But in hot countries, strong sunlight breaks it down safely, so it can be used carefully without harm. So the same act can be ethical in one context and unethical in another. That's why we say ethics must be context specific but never careless. Always think about the intent and impact before deciding what's right. Now let's move from global ethics to personal ethics. Ask yourself, how can I be happy in my career? How can I keep my family relationships strong? How can I live with integrity? We will notice here, happiness doesn't come from money alone. It comes from learning new things, making a difference, and being appreciated for who you are. That's why even in management, the best leaders don't just chase profits, they build people. So management, when done with ethics, and becomes one of the noblest professions. That is because it helps others grow. Finally, let's talk about something very personal, that is your own ethical code. If you don't have a clear sense of purpose, life becomes a race for short-term goals. That is marks, promotions, money, and soon you will lose directions. The real danger begins when we say, it's okay just this once. That one small compromise, like cheating in an exam or bending a rule at work, can slowly destroy your integrity. Okay, remember the wisdom of Lasso. When people lose the way of life, they rely on goodness. When they lose goodness, they rely on loss. In simple words, build your own moral compass before the law forces you to. That's how you live with integrity, peace, and self-respect. So friends, that's all for today's lesson on global standards of ethical behavior. And we learned that ethics are not fixed. They flow with culture and context. And but at the core, values like truth, compassion, and respect are universal. So always stay balanced, respect other cultures, but never lose your principles. Okay, now I will upload the next video soon. Till then, stay ethical, stay motivated, and keep learning. And if you like this session, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And take care everyone. See you in the next class.